Just off the coast of Scotland lies an island that many people have never heard of. From a distance, it looks peaceful and ordinary. Green grass covers the land, waves crash gently against the shore, and seabirds circle overhead. But hidden behind this calm appearance is a story so unusual that for decades people were warned to stay away. Today, the island appears quiet and forgotten. There are no crowds of tourists, no busy roads, no shops or villages. Yet during the 20th century, this small island became the center of one of Britain's most secret wartime projects. Its name is Gruinard Island. Located off the northwest coast of Scotland, the island covers only a small area of land. For centuries, it attracted little attention, but everything changed during the Second World War. The year was 1942. Europe was in the middle of a devastating conflict. Nations were searching for new technologies and new strategies that could help them survive. Military leaders feared threats unlike anything seen before. Among those fears was the possibility of biological warfare. Unlike conventional weapons, biological agents could spread disease silently and unpredictably. Governments around the world were desperate to understand how dangerous such weapons could become. British officials wanted answers. They needed a location where experiments could be carried out safely and away from large populations. The site had to be isolated, difficult to access, and far from major towns and cities. Gruinard Island seemed like the perfect choice. It was remote, it was uninhabited, and its location made it easier to control access. Soon, scientists and military personnel began arriving on the island to begin a project that would remain secret for years. The experiments focused on anthrax, one of the most dangerous diseases known at the time. Researchers wanted to understand how it behaved, how it spread, and how much damage it could potentially cause if used as a weapon. To gather information, carefully planned tests were carried out on the island. Scientists observed the results and recorded detailed data. What they discovered would have consequences far beyond what anyone expected. The results were alarming. Anthrax proved to be extremely resilient. It could survive in the environment far longer than many researchers had predicted. This raised serious concerns about what might happen if such a weapon were ever used on a larger scale. As the experiments continued, it became clear that Gruinard Island itself had been affected. The soil was contaminated, and the danger could not simply be removed overnight. What began as a temporary wartime project was becoming a long-term problem. When the tests ended, the island was left behind, but the contamination remained. Scientists soon realized that the anthrax spores could survive for years beneath the surface, hidden in the soil and waiting for the right conditions. As news of the island's history slowly became known, public concern began to grow. People wondered how dangerous the island really was. Some believed it would never be safe again. Others feared that the threat had been underestimated. Warning signs were placed around the area. Access remained restricted. Fishermen, sailors, and visitors were advised to stay away. The island earned a reputation unlike any other place in Britain. Over time, Gruinard Island became known as Britain's Forbidden Island, a place hidden behind warnings, rumors, and mystery. Yet the most fascinating part of the story was still to come. Decades later, officials would face a difficult question. Could the island ever be made safe again? The war eventually came to an end. Across Europe, cities began rebuilding and communities started moving forward. But on Gruinard Island, nothing changed. While the rest of Britain entered a new era, the island remained trapped in the past. Hidden behind warning signs and surrounded by uncertainty, it was left alone. Scientists continued studying the effects of anthrax contamination. What worried them most was the durability of the spores. Unlike many other bacteria, anthrax could survive for extremely long periods under the right conditions. This meant that the danger on the island could remain for decades. Years passed, then more years. Eventually, entire generations grew up hearing stories about the island. Many had never seen it, but they knew its reputation. To them, Gruinard Island was a mysterious place that people simply avoided. Rumors began spreading. Some claimed the island was still being used for secret experiments. Others believed it was permanently dangerous and would never be safe again. Because access was restricted, very few people knew the complete truth. The mystery only made the island more famous. Journalists wrote articles, historians discussed its unusual past, and people across Britain became increasingly curious about what was happening on that small piece of land off the Scottish coast. By the 1970s and 1980s, public pressure was growing. Many people wanted answers. Could the island be cleaned? Was it truly dangerous? And if so, for how much longer? Government officials and scientists began searching for a solution. If Gruinard Island could be successfully decontaminated, one of Britain's most unusual wartime chapters could finally come to an end. A major cleanup operation was eventually approved. It would require extensive planning, specialized equipment, and careful scientific monitoring. The task was enormous, but officials believed it could be done. Large areas of contaminated soil were treated using special chemical solutions. Teams worked carefully to reduce the risk and ensure the cleanup was effective. Every step was monitored and recorded. The process took time. Scientists needed evidence that the island was truly safe. One mistake could have serious consequences. So testing continued year after year. Finally, the results began to change. Evidence suggested that the contamination had been successfully removed. For the first time in decades, there was hope that Gruinard Island could leave its dark reputation behind. After further inspections and additional testing, officials reached a conclusion. The island was declared safe. One of Britain's longest-running environmental concerns had finally been resolved. Today, Gruinard Island looks peaceful once again. Visitors looking across the water see a quiet landscape of grass, rocks, and sea. There is little to suggest the extraordinary events that once took place there. Yet the island's story continues to fascinate historians. It serves as a reminder of the fears of wartime, the power of science, and the lasting consequences of decisions made during moments of crisis. Gruinard Island may appear calm today, but its past tells a very different story. Hidden behind decades of secrecy, isolation, and warning signs was one of the most unusual places in British history. A small island that became a symbol of wartime fear, scientific experimentation, and humanity's determination to solve the problems it creates. And perhaps that is why its story is still remembered today. If you enjoy real British mysteries, forgotten places, and hidden history, subscribe for more fascinating stories from across the United Kingdom.